Rob, why don't you start by telling us what the book is about in a way that folks without a medical degree would understand?
Actually, I wrote this book because we've suffered a crisis in our culture, and I believe it comes down to a mistake that we've made between the interpretation of two of our most important and positive emotions, pleasure and happiness. A lot of people equate the two, but I'm here to tell you that they are completely different. A lot of people think they're exactly the same. In fact, on the internet, you can find definitions that actually conflate and confuse the two. So what are the differences between pleasure and happiness? And I believe there are 7. Pleasure is short-lived, happiness is long-lived. Pleasure is visceral, happiness is ethereal. Pleasure is taking, happiness is giving. Pleasure can be achieved with substances, happiness cannot be achieved with substances. Pleasure is experienced alone, happiness is experienced in social groups. The extremes of pleasure all lead to addiction, whether they be substances or behaviors. Yet there's no such thing as being addicted to too much happiness. And finally, number 7, most important, pleasure is dopamine and happiness is serotonin. Now, these are 2 biochemicals, these are 2 neurotransmitters, these are 2 chemicals that the brain makes and uses to communicate between one neuron, brain cell, and another. Now, there's one thing that downregulates serotonin, dopamine. So the more pleasure you seek, the more unhappy you get. And Las Vegas, Madison Avenue, Wall Street, Silicon Valley, and Washington, D.C. have very specifically and in a coordinated fashion confused and conflated the term happiness with the term pleasure so that you can buy happiness, so that they can sell you their junk. It's called the American economy, and it's based on hedonic substances that drive pleasure rather than happiness. And in the process, we have become most decidedly unhappy. And the problem is, you can't fix a problem unless you identify what the problem is. That's the reason for this book.